In this video, I'm going to be going over how we can create a sequence of events that need to happen, say for a QuickTime event or some sort of Simon Says type thing. This is very flexible and can be applied to a whole variety of gameplay things, so if you're interested in learning, stick around. Okay, so to get started, let's go ahead and think about how we can get a sequence of events and check against them to make sure things are happening the way they should. For this, I'm going to use a timeline, and let's just say we're going to have 4 events, right? So I'll set this to 4 seconds long just so that it's clear and easy for me to understand here. So we're going to need to check along this timeline the values that we're looking at. So I'll switch this to beats mode just so I can have this lock in. There we go. And I'm going to be sending these values through a node like so. And so I'll give this a range, and what this range represents is the face buttons on the controller. So X, square, triangle, circle. We'll make X be 1, square be 2, triangle would be 3, and circle would be 4. So let's say we wanted to have some sequence of events where we needed to press X and then circle and then square and then triangle. So we would set this up so that the values would line up. So this would be X, circle, square, triangle. Okay? So each of these will go into this node. For this, we could use a counter, and since there are 4 events, we can set up a thing there, and we can use the count progress to adjust our playhead position. So for example, if I got out a controller here just to show you, we can bind X to add. We can see that every time we press X, it moves to that next value. Now that's not really the way we want to set that up, so instead what I'll do is I'll get out a selector, and this will have 5 ports, and these buttons will go into their respective ports. So I want these to be a pulse, so I'll get out a signal manipulator and have there be 4 of them. So I'll wire these in like so. And so X was going to be 1, so we'll plug that into port 1. Square is 2, triangle is 3, and circle is 4. And this top port is 0, so that's why I'm using 5 ports instead of 4. Now I'll get one more signal manipulator out, again on a pulse. I'm just going to wire all of these in so that whenever we press a button, there's a pulse for us to use. Obviously, when we press a button, we want to be able to check whether it's equal to the current button we're expecting. So because of this, the output from that node will go in to the equals port, the A port of the calculator, and now we need to check the value here. So we can use the active port, and I'll go ahead and put this into a node like so, and when we pulse, that's when this will be on. So at any given point, it's checking to see if the button we press is equal, right? And if it is, then we can increase the counter. So here we can see if I press square, nothing happens, but if I press X, it goes to the next port. Now if I press X again, I want it to reset. So I'll get out a NOT gate, and when it's not equal, we can reset, and that will also be powered by this. Otherwise it'll just reset really fast all the time. And let me go ahead and move all this crap. So when we press the correct button, it will advance, and when we don't, it'll rewind. So right off the bat, if I press square, nothing happens. If I press X, it moves forward. And now it's expecting us to press circle. So if I press triangle, it goes back. But if I press these in the correct order, then these things will move ahead, and eventually it'll get to the end there. So when it's done, we can go ahead and, I don't know, play some sort of victory sound here. So let me get one out. I'll just play one bar like that. And I'll set this to play once. So when this thing is done, then we can power this timeline and play our victory sound. So here we have like a little event. So if I press X and then circle and then square and then... Now if we didn't want to use a controller sensor in here, we could do something else. So let's say we have some sort of value coming in and we're using that to change the active port, right? Say you had a controller in another chip somewhere and you didn't want to create another one, you could just use this same thing here. So I'll go ahead and label this. So I've labeled this sequence check, and this is pretty much completely reusable, except if we wanted to have different buttons, we could change these. If we wanted to have more than 4 button presses, then you would just set this up to however many you wanted. So we could have a controller coming in there, or let's say we have some other value. So here I've gotten out a block, and I'm going to make it grabbable, and I've just placed a value in here with a number displayer. Right, so we can use the grab sensor here. And when it grabs something, we can send a value. So I'll power this with the grab, and we'll send this value through a transmitter. Let's make sure to give it a name. Right, so if we had 4 of these, right, so here we have these things with their values on there. And now remember, our sequence is 1, 4, 2, 3. So however you want to signal that to the player is totally fine. But now we have a way to actually receive that incoming information. So I will get out a wireless transmitter and I'll label this G, and I'll make it scene wide. And so this node should go into that signal manipulator too for the pulse, and we'll have this come in here. Right, so since our sequence is 1, 4, 2, 3, the player needs to press it. The player needs to grab them in the correct order. So if I go into test mode, we can take a look and see how this works. You can see here if I press 2, it changes the port here, right? But that's not the right button, so it didn't advance. So if I press 1 and then 3, it goes back. Or if I press 1, 4, 2, 3, then we've grabbed them in the right order. So you can see how reusable this is, and we can have this basically be attached to a whole variety of different gameplay types. Right, so say you had a bunch of sequences that you wanted to happen. First of all, we're going to need to give some sort of context as to how this works. So what I'll do is I'll just get out a timeline and I'll record 1, 4, 2, 3. Right, so this will play once when this chip is on. So I'll get a node out and I will give it no port and have that come through here. And now we can have a selector for a whole bunch of these things. So let's say when this is done, it also sends out a signal. So this will go out there like so, and that'll just signal that we're finished. So A would power this thing, and then maybe we have a different one that has a different sequence. So here we could have 3, 1, 2, 3, right? So here I'll just redo this thing. So this will power this, and that will go in here. So when these are done, we'll put them through another node, and that will just move on to the next one. 1, 4, 2, 3. So press 1, 4, 2, 3. 3, 1, 2, 3. Right, then it does it again. 3, 1, 2, 3. Except now we have an issue, and that is that these things are done. These never got rewound, right? So we may want to set up some sort of way to reset these. So I'll just go ahead and get this node in. And that'll reset the count. So I'll exit this and we'll go into test mode. 1, 4, 2, 3. Right, so I press 1, then 4, and then 2, and then 3. 3, 1, 2, 3. And now it moves to the next one. So I can press 3, 1, 2, 3. Right, and we can see it reset. Now let's say you didn't want these to be numerical things, but you wanted them to play some sort of note. We can do the same thing, except we'll just get rid of the number displayers. So I'll record a note, and inside of here I'll just place this at the beginning. And we can set these to any notes we want. And so when we grab, we'll power this musical instrument, as well as send the value in. So here in the sequence, we have 1, 4, 2, 3, and so we have these values here, right? 1, 4, 2, and 3. Okay, so now with our sequences, we can just set these up to basically mirror the thing we want it to play. So I'll grab this instrument out, and instead we'll just put the sequence we want here. Right, so we have this sync widths here. So now let's see how this works in play mode. So I hope this helped anybody trying to make some sort of sequence. You could apply this to QuickTime events, Simon Says, or, you know, if you're really creative, you could find other cool things to do with this exact setup, right? We can see that it's pretty reusable, pretty flexible too. It allows us to set up a whole variety of different inputs. If you wanted this to have more buttons, you would just stretch this out and add more of these. And this would take up to, 9 different options, right? Just for one sequence. So that's pretty good. You can put a lot of buttons in there. If you wanted to extend it past that, that would maybe be a topic for another video. So if you're looking for something like that, please let me know. If you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate it, and feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you're new around here and you want to see more Dreams tutorials, feel free to subscribe. I hope you're doing well. I'll see you next time.